Alright, so I'm here in Las Vegas, here for a work conference, but hoping to put together some poker hands at very many of the venues. Here's Las Vegas, we're on the Strip, and hope to take some more footage from one of the poker rooms, one of the card rooms. Later. Hey guys, so had a request from Mr. Katz to do more fighter pilot stuff. So I busted out my VMFA, that's Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 323, the Death Rattlers bowling shirt. Also a shout out to the Big Lebowski and my buddy Mike. Let me show you the back here. So that's the Death Rattlers, and when we talked about call signs in a previous episode, this would be the type of shirt we would wear for call sign reviews and other sort of mandatory type fun that we might do in a squadron. So my first couple of hand reviews is going to be at Caesar's Palace. I don't know if I ever remember playing any poker at Caesar's Palace, but I needed to meet some work associates out in the forum shops at Casa Fuente. If you're a cigar smoker, highly recommend Casa Fuente. Kind of a Dominican themed, have their own hand rolled line of cigars plus other good stuff. But the Big Smoke is in town for that weekend, so it's going to be picking up, pretty busy, pretty happening place to be. So that'll be a good time. But while I'm there, I've got some time to kill, so I jump into Caesar's Poker Room, see what it's doing, and they've got a 1-2 seat for me. So pretty long list on their 2-5, but I'll sit down to 1-2. I am by no means an expert on how to play a live 1-2 no limit hold'em, but you got the standard. We had a bunch of old guys there in the early evening. I'm drinking some beers, and there's lots and lots of calling, 5, 6, 7, 8-way calling, not a lot of 3-betting, and not a lot of raising without the nuts or something absolutely great. So I'll try to adapt to that. I'll show you a few hands. Then we'll head over to Casa Fuente, and then we'll end up at the Wynn for some more hand reviews. Okay, so this first hand, I'm dealt Ace-9 offsuit in middle position on the old 1-2. I will raise that up to 8, and we'll get a caller in the hijack, caller in the button, and the 2 blinds will come along for a total of 5 callers, $8 each. So that's the type of thing we see a lot of in 1-2, and I'm gonna kind of experiment in about my 1 hour. This is a $300 buy-in table, 1 to 300, I think. I'm going to experiment with different types of sizing, with different hand ranges, and just kind of see what it's doing. So this one was 4x, middle position with a middle strength hand, and we'll go 5 callers to the flop. Flop is going to be a very favorable 9 high, and that'll check around to me, the big raiser. I'll come out for 16 into a pot of 40, and I'll get just the elderly gentleman 2 over for me, and the hijack is just going to make the call. Everyone else will fold, so it'll be heads up to the turn. Turn's going to bring an 8 of clubs, and I will bet out 45 or 50, excuse me, into the pot of 72, and he will lay that down. So that's kind of the types of action I remember in these types of games, and thought that was a decent enough one with the multiple callers. When you hit the flop, you can tend to get value, although he didn't connect whatsoever and folded there. I think he's going to have a lot of, to call cold, he's going to have a lot of different aces, suited Broadway cards, possibly smaller pairs and things like that. So yeah. We'll see an early position raise under the gun 1, going up 5x to 10 after a caller. It's pretty standard. We'll have another caller in the hijack. I'm on the button with a fairly favorable 9-10 of spades. Gonna 3-bet here a lot, and again with the experimentation of bet sizing and what's going to work. If the original opener had a very premium hand, I think he's going to call just about any kind of 3-bet here, and if he doesn't, I'll probably pick up the pot here. But what I don't necessarily want is 6 callers at my raise amount, so I'm gonna jump up to $55. It's about the 24 that's already in there, and everyone's going to fold around, and I'll pick up that 25 bucks. Yeah, and I mean, not that exciting of a hand by any means, but you know, the reason I show it is typically in these where everyone can afford the buy-ins, people are more recreational, more having fun, lower buy-ins like this, clearly entirely recreational table. There's going to be a lot of calling, especially with initial raisers, even like a 2-3 type of game, 1-3 type of game, even if it plays loosey-goosey on a Saturday night. You know, 3-betting with the student connectors or the premium hands in position. Sometimes you got to have a decent 3-bet sizing. So, you know, obviously $35, those $10 callers are going to call every time or most of the time. Unless they have really short stack sizes. Okay, the last one I'm just going to show you at Caesars. I am going to be in the low jack with a king queen of diamonds. And let's play that out. We got the middle position 1 just to my right calling. I'm going to bump it up to 12. The experience had been, this is basically my last hand I'm going to play. The 8 to 10 range with 1 color and no colors is always going to go 4 or 5 way to the flop. I'm increasing it a little bit more here to 12, and the cutoff is going to raise me to 35. And again, this is the same gentleman as before, elderly. I wouldn't expect him to have anything but a very premium hand, ace queen off at the worst, and something like probably pocket 10s higher. So fairly premium hand there. It's going to fold around to me, and I'm going to make the call. We'll see a flop of jack 5-7, 1 diamond. I will check to the raiser. He will make it a smallish 30. Fairly standard play there. I'll call, and now we'll get the second diamond. Give me that second nut flush draw, along with my 2 overs. I check over to him and he bets 30 again. This to me, just the way the way it went down really spoke to me that it was fairly weak, and he didn't know what to bet. So I'm now thinking ace queen, king queen, even an ace jack suited, although that'd be top, so disregard that. But something like an ace king, ace queen type hand, or perhaps some kind of middle pair like 10s below the jack. But again, I would expect him to be pretty strong to not just flat my raise pre-flop, just based on playing with him there for about an hour. So I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and raise all in. And what I didn't realize is that he only had 25 more behind. So this is kind of a strange check raise. It doesn't really accomplish too much. I would have been far better off. You know, was it this last action that gave me the really good read on him? You know, I think it played a part, right? But it would have been far better off just shoving the 135. And as it turns out, I might have gotten a laydown. But obviously for 25 more, you'll hear on the video there, he's more than happy to put that in with his ace king, and he will go ahead and scoop that pot. It's gonna be the last pot I play, and I'll just walk out there with my remaining chips, and we'll take it over to Casa Fuente.
check it out. F-18 cufflinks. That's cool.
Hey guys, we're in Las Vegas at Casa Fuente having a smoke. Lovely Victoria bringing us a mojito. Hi Victoria.
Hi.
Lovely. Lovely.
So, cheers, guys.
Thank you so much. All right, so a different day. So we close it out at Casa Fuente, and then one of the other days while we're there, I'll go to the Wynn after a kind of a long night of cocktails, but
Say hello.
Welcome to the Wynn.
Say hello to the people.
Hello to the people.
sit down at the 2.5, which is a 1500 max, and plays more like a 5.5, I would say, in LA or in San Diego. So the table was about 6 pros, a couple of pretty solid recs, and there was 2 players that were definitely weaker players. I thought it was pretty interesting to exploit. As far as game selection goes, I don't think there's just a couple spots there. I think for those stakes, not being a 10-25 game or a 10-20 game, you could probably do a little bit better in your game selection, even though there's a couple of obvious points to take advantage of, in the form of let's see, 3 seats to my right anyway, and then just as the game changed, there's a couple of other spots as well. Do a quick walkthrough on kind of a standard hand, just the way it was going. Pretty nitty table for the most part, and even the weaker spots weren't loose by any means. They were also nitty, and often turning the nuts over on the boat over boat situation type of hand at the end. So again, game selection wise, I don't know that this was the best move, especially with a couple of cocktails and just having a good time in Vegas. But I digress. We'll start out with a Jack 5 suited from the low jack with a stack size of around 720. It's going to fold around to me. I'm going to bet 15, 3x. This game played very much more standard than the 1-2 game, so just some good contrast, I think, between the 2 games. The small blind and big blind will both come along. I'll go to a flop of Jack 7-7 with the backdoor hearts and top pair. It'll check back to me, and I will make it 25. Small blind gets out of the way. Big blind comes along for the 8 of clubs on the turn. Big blind checks, bet 55, and that'll be the check fold. Not that interesting, but just kind of exemplifying this sort of standard play that's been going on at the table, which has its pros and cons for sure. Okay, on this one, I'm just showing both hands. Just not the best hand played by any means, but it's gonna fold around to me on the button with the old Queen 10 off, affectionately known as Ocean's 11 Aces. I'm gonna go ahead and raise that up to 20 and try to take it down there with my Queen high. Small blind has not depicted here, but it has a pretty big stack. I probably have around 1,000. He probably has around 2,500 or something like that. He's been very nitty. Asian guy, not playing a lot of hands. Everyone else will fold, so we will be heads up. And we'll flop the old middle pair with decent kicker. He's going to check to me, and I will go ahead and continue bet. Continuation bet, C bet 25, and he'll call there with his slow played middling ace. Turn's going to bring the 2 of spades. He's going to check. I am going to check back. Not feeling, it's not a very draw heavy board. Certainly, Broadways may come along, but sort of out of position hands, I've got him out a lot of aces here, even some king 10s, occasional slow played set or something like that, but most likely hand probably some sort of ace combination. So we'll go check on the turn. River, he's going to bet out 60. And this is, I think, probably a clear fold at a pretty standard, tightish table. Sure, it wasn't very many draws he would have missed there. Sure, he could have complete air, but why would he play it passively out of the small blind? I think I probably could have saved myself $60, but I'll go ahead and, with my second pair, decent kicker, make that call and give up the pot to seat 9. So I've selected this hand for the donks corner. The idea of these hands wasn't that and necessarily win them, but just so we know that's not a trend. Spoiler alert, I end up winning this one. But I just wasn't crazy about the way the hand played, and there's a little bit of frustration on my part. So I'll start the hand with 905. A new player, the pro, sat down in middle position 1 with full buy-in of 1500. Under the gun ones just got a stack size just under mine of 875. I'm a button straddle this time, and the software here doesn't allow the under the gun player to go first at the win. The under the gun player is the first to act when there's a button straddle, so I'll just skip past that. But the small blind and big blind do end up folding. And just for the people that are watching this for the first time, we use Donk's Corner to just kind of do, take the mulligan, take a hand that we didn't really love the way it went down, or one where we got it in bad, or we got it in fine, but just don't like the play and would have done things differently based on the information that we had at the time. And then the outcome's the outcome, right? So with equity, but not probably as much as I would like to have to be able to call off an all-in. So enough spoilers. Let's just step through it. Again, button straddle. So under the gun's going to fold. Under the gun 1 is going to raise it up to 30. The new player took a rec player that left, and pro came in. He's going to go ahead and make it 110 with the 3-bet. It's going to fold around to me with my button straddle. I mean, I've got 10 invested. So I'll go ahead and complete with my suited cards. Probably a good one to let go there. And part of the reason it's going to be in the donk corner here. So I'll call the 110. The original raiser will come around for the 110 as well. And we'll go to a flop. It's going to be 2-4-6, very favorable for me against a typical type of overpair. Just the open-ended straight draw, really. I don't think it's going to qualify as very favorable, but for my hand, we'll say very favorable. The original raiser is going to check. Original 3-better is going to come out 225 into a pot of 337. I'm thinking about jamming there because somebody's probably going to bet ahead of me on the turn, and I'm not going to have much jam equity at all. You may cause some folds there with the jam, but I'm going to go ahead and just call the 225. And under the gun 1, the original raiser goes ahead and jams. At this point, I'm putting him on a suited 3-5 or any of the sets or aces, and that's about it. Actually, maybe not aces, right? Because pre-flop he doesn't 4-bet. So there's a lot of overpairs there that would make sense too. So a lot of overpairs are 3-5 suited, 4-4, 2-2, and 6-6. Got the aces shown there for the 3-better. He's going to go in the tank for a long time. He's going to end up laying it down. And I will go ahead and tank a bit and end up making the call now for 580 into a pot of 2100 with the 8 outs twice. So not the worst spot in the whole world, but hand selection pre-flop, frustration of calling off a lot of value rivers, and not really, not making any draws, whatever, just not having the best session. And, maybe the answer isn't to try to gamble it up as much as you can. But I found myself here, said getting 4-1 and 8 outs twice, so not necessarily the worst place in the world. But I'll make the call there, and right away, no waiting, I'll get the 8. Of course, if I'm up against the set, which is probably most of the time. Based on the way this went down, I have to fade now the 9 outs for the full house, or 10 including the quads, and get the nice blank on the river to get a little more than the double up. So that's going to go well. End up having a losing session at Wynn though, and close out the Vegas trip that way. So lose close to a buy-in at the Caesars Palace, lose a buy-in here at the Wynn, or buy-in plus a little top off, and we'll go back to Ocean's 11 there on Friday. So we'll go back to Ocean's 11 on Friday, and I've got some more footage shot from those, and we'll get some back and have some I think pretty interesting hands to talk about, and try to add a little more craziness, because monotone me talking through hands isn't what everyone wants to see. But if you like the hand breakdowns, let me know. I can do less of them. I can do more of them. Just really practicing up for trying to do a daily vlog while in Brazil, going through the tournament cycle there for the Brazilian Series of Poker. So let me know what works for you. And with that, if you like the content, please subscribe if you want to see more. If you want to see more poker stuff, more motorcycle stuff, or more fighter pilot stuff, that's kind of the area that we're drawing from. And then trying to have some fun along the way as well. And I'll close it out there, and should have another one posted here in probably 2 days. And I'll talk to you all soon. Appreciate it. See ya. But I think I left it off there, but our under the gun 1 player that jammed, he's going to have to set of 4s. So that's going to work out.